Hey there, and welcome back to Utility Sports. In today's video, we are covering the Bleacher Report article that is looking at the 5 quarterbacks that could be the next Joe Burrow. Now, this is very, very high praise for some of these quarterbacks that they put on the list. I'm saying that they could even be in that conversation to make that Joe Burrow-like leap. But I think there are some quarterbacks that are, very well could warrant that title. However, there's some other guys in this article that I definitely don't think really belong to be in this conversation. So we will go ahead, scroll down here and take a look at the first one that they have, and that's Davis Mills. Now, Davis Mills is a quarterback that, really surprised people coming out of Stanford, had some injuries in college, but ended up sliding to the Houston Texans in the draft. And honestly, the Houston Texans did not have a ton around him talent-wise. Now, I look at him as a quarterback that, definitely played above where he should be. He has a couple of targets heading into this season, but overall, I don't really believe that the Texans have enough to, around him for him to make that kind of a leap. Now, we have to remember how many great playmakers, did the Bengals have last season. They had Joe Mixon, they had Jamar Chase, they had T. Higgins. They had a lot of guys that really made it, that were conducive enough for him to make that kind of leap and eventually make a Super Bowl run. So that is something that you have to consider here, in my opinion. Now, Davis Mills, I don't see that, really being a realistic possibility. Now, the next quarterback that they have on here is kind of interesting. He's a player that a lot of people are now down on, and that's Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And for Trevor Lawrence, he was the generational prospect. He was the 6'6" quarterback, big arm, smart kid, stayed out of trouble. There's a lot to love about him as an individual NFL draft prospect. He landed in perhaps the worst situation that you possibly could in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer as your head coach, a guy that was not seriously committed to winning. There's a lot of things externally that, were going against Trevor Lawrence. Now, on the football field, you definitely saw some bright flashes and showing that he could be a superstar at the next level. Now, there is also reasons for concern. A lot of throws that, he definitely missed that he was not missing at the collegiate level. Definitely was struggling in his transition. Now, you look at an offensive line that wasn't very good last year and also a receiving core that had the most drops in the entire NFL. That is not a good formula for success, in my opinion. Once again, I don't see Trevor Lawrence making that jump this year, even under Doug Peterson, even after, adding the expensive wide receiver free agent, Christian Kirk. I don't see him making that jump. I really don't. And I'm a fan of the team, but once again, I have to be level-headed in my thinking here. Trevor Lawrence is not going to make that Joe Burrow-like leap heading into next year. And that leads us to the next quarterback, which is Tua. Now, Tua is an interesting player. He's a player that a lot of people got down on right away early in his career. Obviously, when he first entered the league, he still had the injury that he was fighting and trying to get healthy from. But Tua is a player that has some weapons around him. Now, Tyreek Hill addition and having Jalen Waddle on top of it, Mike Gesicki is another terrific receiving option. There's a lot going for Tua. And I think it kind of gets to the point where you have to ask yourself, now, the Joe Burrow-like leap, does that mean getting to the Super Bowl? Does that mean individual statistical performance? I think, statistically, Tua is going to see a huge jump this year in terms of his overall production. Considering he does have Tyreek Hill now on the roster, that opens up things for your entire offense to go. Now, Tyreek Hill does so many different things. He catches the ball at every level of the field, a guy that can make things happen after the catch. He's a total package. He's a special player individually. Once again, I just don't see Tua really, necessarily making that leap as well. Now, the next one is Mac Jones. Mac Jones is in a situation where he's in a position that he can win. He definitely can win in New England. I know the roster year in, year out, for the Patriots the last couple of seasons have not been, a very, very great roster like we've seen with some of their past rosters. But Bill Belichick has definitely amplified. He always brings his guys up to a certain level, does a really good job bringing in players that were cast-offs elsewhere and getting the most out of them. So roster standpoint wise, this team isn't great. Mac Jones has some nice weapons around him. However, I just don't see him making, once again, that Joe Burrow jump. Now, the player I will say that's been the closest so far of the ones we've had is Trevor Lawrence, but Mac Jones is a player that very well could take that next step. But once again, I think you need to look at the collection of weapons for these quarterbacks we've talked about. Tua is in the best situation weapon wise for what he has surrounding him. But, some of these other quarterbacks like the Texans, Jags, and Patriots, there's not a lot of great supporting cast members. So that's something to honestly keep in mind. So Mac Jones is the next one here. And then finally, we conclude with a guy that we really haven't seen much of, and that's Trey Lance. Trey Lance is in a great position in San Francisco, really good infrastructure around him. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, a nice collection of running backs. There's a lot going for him. He's in an offense that's super conducive for quarterback play, and potentially putting up big numbers in San Francisco is totally realistic this year. Now, if you want to also look at a team that can make a deep postseason run, Trey Lance has that great opportunity here with the roster that he has on hand, a really good defense, terrific weapons on offense, a really good head coach, in my opinion. I think this is a team and a player individually that can make it far into the postseason. And Trey Lance would be the beneficiary of, a really, really great roster as a whole. And honestly, he's going to have to continue to mature as a player to get to Joe Burrow's level. Now, I don't think any of these quarterbacks will make the Joe Burrow-like leap, but I think Trey Lance and Trevor Lawrence are going to be the closest. And if you're looking more so on the winning side of things, that is definitely going to be Trey Lance just because of the situation that he's in. So that is our list of the 5 quarterbacks that Bleacher Report deemed could be the next Joe Burrow. Let me know in the comment section below if there's a quarterback on this list that you think could make that jump. I'm very curious to hear from your guys' perspectives, your guys' thoughts. So thanks again for stopping by. I appreciate you watching the video, and we will catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.